The land of forests, nature's hidden jewel. Jharkhand is a traveler's paradise. Get ready for a sensory extravaganza, complete with ancient traditions and world-class lifestyles, breathtaking scenic beauties and heart-stopping adventure. Thousands of years of faith preserved in magnificent temples, marvels of new age infrastructure.
Can I resist?
An abundance of prehistoric heritage flowing through generations.
I've heard so much about the expertise behind this vibrant Sorai art.
Discover new horizons. Discover yourself. Discover Jharkhand. Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India stands firm in stance against terrorism. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh refuses to sign the joint declaration at SCO meet after Pahalgam attack did not find any mention in the document. India exposes Pakistan's gross hypocrisy at UN Security Council, accuses Islamabad of attempting to deflect attention from its own human rights violations and state-sponsored cross-border terrorism. US and Iran to hold nuclear talks next week. President Trump signals easing Iran oil sanctions enforcement to help put country into shape. Axiom 4 aboard SpaceX Crew Dragon with India's Shubhanshu, Shukla and 3 other astronauts will dock with International Space Station at around 16:30 IST today. And monsoon fury in hilly states of India, flash flood and landslide trigger massive destruction in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. Rescue and relief operation underway. And on to the details now. Taking a firm stand at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Defense Ministers meet in China, Indian Defense Minister Rajnath Singh refused to sign the joint declaration at the SCO ministerial meet as it did not mention the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack that killed 26 people, mostly the tourists. India continues to reiterate its stand in a fight against terrorism. Member states, including Russia, Pakistan and China, are attending the summit in China's Qingdao to discuss issues related to regional and international security. And India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh today took a veiled dig at Pakistan for using cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy.
India's zero tolerance for terrorism is manifest today through its actions. This includes our right to defend ourselves against terror, and we have shown that epicenters of terrorism are no longer safe and we will not hesitate to target them.
Well, without naming Pakistan, the Defence Minister stressed that SCO countries must unite in condemning states which use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy.
It is imperative that those who sponsor, nurture and utilize terrorism for their narrow and selfish ends must bear the consequences. Some countries use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy and provide shelter to terrorists. There should be no place for such double standards. SCO should not hesitate to criticize such nations.
Well, Rajnath Singh asserted that the biggest challenges the country is facing today are related to peace, security and trust deficit. He also explained that the root cause of these problems.
I believe that the biggest challenges that we are facing in our region are related to peace, security and trust deficit. And the root cause of these problems is increasing radicalization, extremism and terrorism. Peace and prosperity cannot coexist with terrorism and proliferation of weapons of the mass destruction in the hands of the non-state actors and the terror groups. Dealing with these challenges require decisive action, and we must unite in our fight against these evils for our collective safety and security.
Well, he also spoke about the dastardly and heinous Pahalgam terrorist attack which killed 26 civilians on April 22nd, terming the Operation Sindoor carried out thereafter as India's right to defend.
The pattern of the Pahalgam terror attack matches with LET's previous terror attacks in India. In exercising its right to defend against terrorism and preempt as well as deter further cross-border terrorist attacks, India on 7th May 2025 successfully launched Operation Sindoor to dismantle cross-border terrorist infrastructure.
Well, the Defence Minister stated that acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable regardless of their motivation, urging unequivocal condemnation by the SCO members.
Any acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable regardless of their motivation, whenever, wherever and by whomsoever committed. SCO members must condemn this evil unequivocally. We reiterate the need to hold the perpetrators, organizers, financiers and sponsors of reprehensible acts of terrorism, including cross-border terrorism, accountable and bring them to justice.
Well, later on the sidelines of the SCO Defence Ministers meeting in Qingdao, Rajnath Singh met his Russian counterpart, Andrei Belousov. And based on specific intelligence, a joint operation was launched by Indian Army and Jammu and Kashmir Police in the Bihali area of Basantgarh, named as Operation Bihali. Security forces have established contact with the terrorists in the region and the operation is currently ongoing. The joint effort aims to neutralize the terrorist threats and ensure the safety of the local population. Also, India has strongly rejected what it described as Pakistan's nefarious agenda at the United Nations Security Council, accusing Islamabad of attempting to deflect attention from its own human rights violations and state-sponsored cross-border terrorism. India's permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador Parvataneni Harish, issued a sharp rebuttal during the UNSC's open debate on children in armed conflict, calling out Pakistan for misusing the platform and violating the Council's agenda.
Our world is witnessing an alarming escalation in conflicts and terrorist attacks, and children are their most unfortunate casualties. As per the UNSG's report, grave violations against children have surged 25%, while sexual violence has risen 35% in 2024. A sobering indictment that demands immediate and decisive action. Therefore, today's discussion is both urgent and necessary. I'm constrained to respond to the politically motivated remarks made by the delegate of Pakistan, one of the grave violators of the CAC agenda. Pakistan is casting unwarranted aspersions over UN processes and also smearing India at various discussions to pursue their nefarious agenda. We reject this attempt by Pakistan to deflect attention from the atrocities committed against children in their country, as highlighted in the Secretary General's report, as well as their rampant cross-border terrorism.
Well, the Indian envoy labelled Pakistan as one of the grave violators of the CAC agenda, referring to the Secretary General's recent CAAC report, which detailed grave violations against children in Pakistan, including attacks on girls, schools and health workers.
The Secretary General's report on CAC provides details of serious violations against children in armed conflict in Pakistan. The Secretary General has expressed concern at the rise in such grave violations reported, including attacks against schools, particularly girls' schools, against health workers, and about the incidents in the border areas with Afghanistan, where a series of killing and maiming of Afghan children was directly attributed to cross-border shelling and airstrikes by Pakistani armed forces.
While concluding his remarks, the Indian envoy reiterated India's firm stance on Jammu and Kashmir, stating the entire Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir has been, is and will always be an integral and inalienable part of India, irrespective of the frequent, incessant spate of lies and falsehoods by Pakistan. Also, India continues to evacuate its citizens from Israel and Iran even as the news of ceasefire came in. 3,426 Indians have been brought back so far from Iran. Sharing details about the evacuation mission, India's External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal said 272 Indian and 3 Nepalese nationals who were evacuated on a special flight that arrived in New Delhi from Mashhad at 01 hours on 26th of June. And the Axiom 4 mission launched aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is unfolding as planned, with the spacecraft steadily approaching the International Space Station. The crew, including Shubhanshu Shukla, is expected to dock with the ISS around 4:30 p.m. IST on Thursday, capping a 28-hour journey from Earth to the low Earth orbit. Well, the Axiom 4 mission successfully lifted off at 12:01 p.m. IST on Wednesday from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Shubhanshu Shukla, a former Indian Air Force's group captain, has the responsibility as the pilot of the mission, with its commander being Peggy Whitson of the United States. 2 other members, Stewards Uznaski Wiskomski of Poland and Tibor Kapu of Hungary, serve as the mission specialist. The launch marks India's return to human space flight after a gap of 41 years since Rakesh Sharma's 1984 space mission. Well, Shukla, born in Lucknow, is only the second Indian to undertake a space journey. The Dragon spacecraft successfully entered Earth's orbit at an altitude of 200 kilometers, with Shukla later describing the experience as an amazing ride. Meanwhile, Shubhanshu Shukla's achievement of travelling to space has filled his family, community and the entire nation with immense pride and emotion. His parents expressed deep gratitude for the widespread love and recognition, calling it a historic moment for the whole country.
मेरा बेटा नहीं, वो तो पूरे देश का बेटा हो गया, पूरे देश का गौरव बन चुका है। बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, हमारे बच्चे की वजह से आज हम लोग पहचाने जा रहे हैं इसमें। वैसे तो बच्चों की पहचान माता पिता से होती है, मगर हमारी पहचान बच्चे के हिसाब से बन चुकी है। आपको धन्यवाद देते हैं जिन्होंने हमको विशेष दिए हुए हैं, बेस्ट विशेष दी हुई हैं, यह धन्यवाद उनको सबको हमारी तरफ से धन्यवाद।
And the United States Embassy in India has announced that applicants for F, M and J non-immigrant visas should make their social media accounts public. Under the new rules, Indian students and others planning to pursue academia or enroll in vocational or exchange programs are mandated to ensure that their social media profiles are set to public before submitting their visa applications. A refusal to set the accounts to public could be grounds for rejection. Similar directives have been issued by other U.S. embassies across the world, with the U.S. Embassy in Mexico stating that visa applicants must list all social media usernames or handles of every platform they have used from the last 5 years. And moving on, the Indian Meteorological Department has predicted heavy rainfall in multiple states until June 30th as showers have continued to disrupt normal life across several states. The southwest monsoon likely to arrive in Delhi and adjoining regions in coming days, while light to moderate rains with thunderstorm is expected in Delhi and nearby areas. Well, isolated heavy rainfall is likely over Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Rajasthan until June 30th. It is also alerted of heat wave in Jammu division. Parts of central, east and northeast India too will witness heavy rains for the next 7 days. Also, Himachal Pradesh is witnessing heavy rainfall at the moment. At least 2 people were killed and over 10 went missing after cloudburst led to flash floods in many of the state districts on Wednesday. In Kangra district, relief and rescue operations are continuing on war footing. 2 contingents of the State Disaster Response Force and a team of Home Guard are deployed at the site and are continuously engaged in search operations. Apart from this, a contingent of National Disaster Response Force has also been called to assist in relief and rescue operations. And as we told you, heavy rains continue to lash Uttarakhand, where a massive landslide at the Dharchula-Lipu Lake Road in the Pithoragarh district. The road has been closed till the debris removal work completes at the landslide site. Heavy rainfall in the past few days has led to incidents of landfall at other places in the district as well. And still to come in this edition of DT India Live. Trump calls on Israel to help Netanyahu avoid corruption trial amid ongoing legal battle. India's Smart Cities mission completes 10 years of providing financial assistance and promoting sustainable urban development through selected cities. And Kennedy's US vaccine panel breaks norms, plans to review immunization schedule.
Launch a bombing campaign against Iran. The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DT India.
Welcome back. You're watching DT India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, the world is hoping for the things to calm down in West Asia as United States would hold nuclear talks with Iran next week. US President Donald Trump even teased the possibility of a deal. Also speaking in The Hague, where he attended a NATO summit on Wednesday, Trump said he did not see Iran again engaging in nuclear weapons development. He said US would likely seek a commitment from Iran to end its nuclear ambitions at talks, and credited US strikes on Iran with bringing a swift end to the conflict between Israel and Tehran. Tehran has for decades denied accusations by Western leaders that it is seeking nuclear arms. Trump said he was confident Tehran would pursue a diplomatic path towards reconciliation, though he gave no details on the discussions next week, such as the venue and the participants.
We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought. Now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not.
It's not just nuclear, but oil diplomacy is also at play. Trump has not given up its maximum pressure on Iran, including restriction on sales of Iranian oil, but signaled a potential easing in enforcement to help the country rebuild. Trump imposed waves of Iran-related sanctions on several of China's independent teapot refineries and port terminal operators for purchases of Iranian oil. Meanwhile, Trump administration has hit back at accounts that Iran may have moved enriched uranium before US bombing as a row grew on how much the strike set back Tehran's nuclear program. Well, Trump has lashed out angrily at media accounts of a classified report that doubted the extent of damage to Iranian nuclear sites. Another key question raised by experts is whether Iran, preparing for the strike, moved out some 400 kilograms of enriched uranium, which could now be hidden elsewhere in the vast country. Also, the uranium in question is enriched to 60% above levels for civilian usage, but still below weapons grade. The U.S. military said it dropped 14 GBU 57 bunker buster bombs, powerful 13,600 kilogram weapons on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. Trump has repeatedly said that the attack obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities, including the key site of Fordo buried inside a mountain. Also, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baqir, in an interview with Al Jazeera, said that its nuclear facilities were badly damaged.
Yes, our nuclear installations have been badly damaged, that's for sure, because it has come under repeated attacks by Israeli and American aggressors.
Well, in a first, U.S. President Donald Trump called for Israel to pardon Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu or cancel his trial on corruption charges. Trump extolled Netanyahu in his social media post that appeared to be a reference to U.S. involvement and support for Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear program. It was unclear if Trump meant the U.S. could do anything to aid Netanyahu in his legal battle. Also, Israeli media have reported that cross-examination of Netanyahu began on June 3rd in a Tel Aviv court and was expected to take about a year to complete. Netanyahu was indicted in 2019 in Israel on charges of bribery, fraud and breach of trust, all of which Netanyahu denies. The trial began in 2020 and involved 3 criminal cases. He has pleaded not guilty. Well, a medical panel appointed by U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. held its first meeting on Wednesday, pledging to revisit the childhood vaccine schedule and promoting themes long embraced by anti-vaccine activists. The Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, an independent group that reviews scientific evidence to determine who should receive vaccines and when, rarely draws headlines. Well, the panel's first major test comes on Thursday when it votes on whether to recommend a newly approved antibody shot against RSV or respiratory syncytial virus for infants whose mothers did not receive an RSV vaccine during her pregnancy. And on to some business news. The dream thought a decade ago has now become a reality. Smart City mission has not only created infrastructure but also hopes. Watch this special report.
The Smart Cities mission aims to enhance the quality of life in India's cities through smart and sustainable solutions. By focusing on key areas like infrastructure, governance, and social development, the mission seeks to transform urban living across the nation. The Smart City mission was launched in 2015. It has now completed 10 years. Focused on economic development, inclusiveness, and sustainability, this is a mission to bring together diverse needs like housing, transportation, education, healthcare, and entertainment. With 100 cities driving the initiative, the Smart Cities mission has achieved substantial progress. And the list of achievements is quite impressive. All 100 smart cities have operational integrated command and control centers. They have significantly improved city operations such as transport, water supply, and solid waste management. Over 84,000 CCTV cameras have been installed in 100 smart cities, aiding in crime monitoring. 28 cities have developed drinking water treatment capacity of more than 2,900 million liters per day. More than 1,320 projects on public spaces have been developed across 84 smart cities. 27 cities have created wastewater treatment capacity of 1,370 million liters per day. 9,433 smart classrooms have been developed across 2,300 government schools in 71 smart cities. Through smart technology, sustainable solutions, and active community involvement, the mission has enhanced infrastructure, public safety, mobility, water supply, and healthcare. As the mission moves forward, it continues to work towards building smarter, more livable cities that can serve as examples for others to follow. Bureau Report, TD India.
And on to some sports news now. The Indian junior men's hockey team defeated Australia 2-1 in the battle for third place at the ongoing Four Nations tournament on Wednesday. Australian captain Toby Mallon had given Australia the lead in the second half. Rohit provided the equaliser for India before Ajit Yadav's fourth quarter goal sealed the win. The win marks the end of India's campaign in the Four Nation tournament. In the pool stage, India began with a loss to host Germany, bounced back with a victory against Australia, and then endured a 1-5 defeat against Spain. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. And let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news. Thanks from all of us. Keep watching DD India Live.
Welcome to Chandigarh. The land of forests, nature's hidden jewel. Jharkhand is a traveler's paradise. Get ready for a sensory extravaganza, complete with ancient traditions and world-class lifestyles, breathtaking scenic beauties and heart-stopping adventure. Thousands of years of faith preserved in magnificent temples, marvels of new age infrastructure.
Can I resist?
An abundance of prehistoric heritage flowing through generations.
I've heard so much about the expertise behind this vibrant